The best leaders aren't the loudest in the room. They're the ones who listen, who care, who lift others up. In this episode, Steve Druckman shares the truth about leadership, trust, and how to build teams that would follow you anywhere.
Welcome back to part two of my conversation with Steve Druckman. In this episode, Steve reveals the key principles behind effective leadership and how great leaders inspire growth, trust, and lasting success. What originally motivated you to want to be a CEO?
It's an interesting question. I started my career in marketing, and I love marketing. I mean, that's really kind of where I cut my teeth. Then I started to get into merchandising and product development, and I'd say that's kind of where a lot of my passion lies. I love creating new products. I love trying to find new products and new things, especially when I was, at the gift basket and cookie company. I mean, that was a really fun part of my career where I was trying to find, new products and new things. Um, but at some point, I was like, you know what? I want to understand everything. I want to have my hands in everything because it all really matters. So that's when I was like, I'm going to actually, I want to be a CEO. So this is actually interesting. I was the head of marketing in New York City, living in right outside of New York City. I was the head of marketing and got this opportunity to run the cookie company Cheryl's in Columbus, Ohio. I think I had been there once in my life. I had three kids at the time, and my wife and I decided, yep, let's go do it. It was my chance to be, the president of this company and run this company, and it was the best career decision I ever made. We didn't end up loving Columbus, and we ended up moving to. I live in Chicago now. We ended up moving to Chicago a year later. And I still actually kind of kept on running that business along with another one, but that was the best decision I ever made because then now as a CEO, I feel like I have my hands into all the different levers of the business, and marketing is a big part of it, and product is a big part of it. But guess what? Getting the operation side, getting the product there, customer service is a super important part of it, and then just managing all the financials up and down the P&L. I love it. It's just kind of it's what I've been doing for the last 20 years, and I run these kind of mid-sized businesses, and it's kind of where that's kind of where my sweet spot is. I kind of love it. I love to have teams under me where everyone kind of has a real impact on the business and at all levels. So
What do you think makes a great leader?
I'd say as I said, surrounding yourself with smart people. So hiring the right people and building a team, that's probably the biggest thing that I know is having the right people behind you. But then from a leadership perspective, making sure that people are in the right seats, doing the right stuff, and then if they are, giving them the autonomy to succeed and sometimes fail, and allowing them to fail, because that's what's going to make them better leaders. And the more that you have better leaders amongst you, then your whole company is going to do well. So I'd say building the team around you and building them up is probably the biggest thing. Obviously, trust. What's the balance between, let's say the business isn't doing well. There's the balance between, like telling them that the business is not doing well versus sugarcoating it way too much, and then they're going to find out anyway. So there's an aspect of trust that you need to build within the organization. And I try and be as truthful as I can with the folks who work for me.
With more screen usage and indoor time, myopia, also known as nearsightedness, is increasing and getting worse in children. Now, certified eye doctors can prescribe MySight One Day, the first and only FDA-approved soft contact lens to slow myopia progression in age-appropriate children. Visit CooperVision.com to find a Brilliant Futures certified eye doctor near you. What are some of the mistakes you made as a leader or you've seen other leaders make?
I'd say the biggest mistake, I always say this, is that if someone's not in the right place in the right seat and it's time for them to move on, I'd say my biggest mistake is not letting them go or pushing them out soon enough. I was, a soft spot for someone who I know is not doing what they need to do they're not living up to the role that they should be and eventually I come to that conclusion. I let them go, and then I always inevitably say to myself, oh, man, I should have done that 6 months ago. The business would be better 6 months ago. And it's hard, it's hard to let someone go. But, in a lot of instances when they're not doing, when you have someone that's not doing well, they're not happy either. They kind of know they're not doing well either. And I've had instances where I've let someone go and they come back to me a couple of years later and say, you know what? Thank you. Like that was really the kick in the butt I needed to go. And now I'm in a place where I actually really like what I'm doing and I'm thriving. And so it goes both ways. I think that's really important as what part of it as well.
How do you balance telling people what to do versus asking them what they should do?
Yeah, I mean, I think that as the boss, at some point you need to know when you need to put down you put it down and say, hey, this is the decision we're going with. But I love a good healthy debate, and I really do. I love when I have people that are questioning my opinion and saying, hey, I don't think we should do this because of X, Y, and Z. Having an open mind is really important. And I think that creates a better product. It creates better decisions. But when the time comes, there's certain times when you have to put your foot down and you do need to say, hey, this is my decision. Live with it, guys. I believe this is the right thing for the business. So,
You know, I look at leadership as motivation, encouraging, and patience. Talk about how you motivate people.
I'd say motivation is a funny thing. You need to make sure I try to celebrate the wins. Um, because even if they're small wins, it helps. It helps keep everyone motivated, and there's a lot of excitement to that. I'd say that when things are down, like getting everyone excited to solve a problem. I've been there where like, hey, this is a problem in our business. Let's all sit in a room for 3 hours and let's try and solve it. And it's not me telling them what to do. It's me sitting in there in the business and we're literally like together trying to solve it. So that's kind of the two different ends of it. So it's celebrate the wins and bring people in to try and solve the problems within the business so they feel like they're part of the solution.
And how about encouraging? How do you balance that?
Well, I mean, I do think that you want to be as much, encouraging as much as possible, but that does go back to having the right people in the right spots. Whenever you have the right person in the right job and they're challenged, encouraging is good, but that doesn't even, they're self-motivated. So really, it's about putting the people in the right role and giving them the responsibility. No matter what level I've seen it, people want responsibility and accountability. They just do. It's kind of, I think it's human nature, and you want to give it to them. You don't want to give them too much at too much at a time, but you want to continue to give them more and more accountability and responsibility and let them shine. And if they're not going to shine, then there's a good chance they're not sitting in the right seat. They're not doing the right stuff. That they're not in the right role. But when you have the right person in the right role, it's great to see them. And I love giving them more and more accountability and responsibility.
I think something in business, when people start a new business, it's been said that people expect too much the first year, but they don't expect, but they under expect or they underappreciate 10 years out. Can you talk about patience in business? When, how patient do you have to be, and when do you change course when you're being too patient?
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I once heard a leader speak, and he talked about this notion of when you have a program or a product and it's not working, you want some patience to see if you can let it work. But you also have to know when to put it into the ground and say, tried it, didn't work. And I found that I think about this. This was probably 10 years ago that I heard this guy speak, and I've thought about that before. Whereas like you have something and you think it should work, and you're like, God, this is a product that people love, or this is a program that people should love, and it's not working. instead of keep on investing time and keep pushing and trying to do it, you should do that. You shouldn't just give up right away. But sometimes, just for whatever reason, market it just doesn't fit. You got to know when to say, all right, time to move on to the next thing.
How do you deal with the Generation Z, the Zoomers? That group of people that's becoming the new people that we're now hiring, that these are the first group that have grown up in the total digital world, and they
Yeah.
they work differently than somebody from our generation. How do you how,
Yeah.
how do you deal with that?
Yeah, it's funny because my company's a small company. We have 20, 25 people in the company. And being in my mid 50s, I'm literally the oldest person in the company, and by far. So I always joke that, like, some of the people even working for me are 15 years younger than me. And then we have some folks who are in that kind of Gen Z, uh, uh, place. I actually think it's interesting. I love to talk to them. I love to try and understand what they're thinking, um, because the way they take information in is so different. The way that they decision make, the way that they interact. I try and embrace technologies. I don't know if you guys of Slack, which is this, it's almost like a text thing that we use within our company. And when I got here, everyone used Slack. I'm like, I don't even know what Slack is. I use a email, right? I email people. That's what I do. Or I pick up the phone. Well, people use Slack. So for me, it's about embracing these new things that and communicating with them the way that they want to be communicated with. And I think that helps. I think that helps you connect with them for sure. But hey, like, yeah, they certainly have come up in a different time, that's for sure.
How do you know that you're a great leader? How do you know that when you could be better?
Um, People tell you by quitting. That's really it. So if all of a sudden, you start seeing people leave the business, then there's something wrong. Now, it may be something wrong with the business, or there may be something wrong with the way that you're running the business. And I'm very focused on it. When someone quits, I have less people in my this business, but when I was at 1-800-Flowers, I mean, I had hundreds of people that were reporting up to me, and at different levels when they left, like, I really made a point to try and sit with them before they walked out the door to understand what was going on. And sometimes it's stuff that you did. Sometimes it's the culture you created. Sometimes it's the people you added. That's why, I whenever we hire someone in the small businesses that I run now, I talk to everyone, because one person can influence can influence the entire culture of a company. One bad egg can really turn a business sour, and it's really important to know that. And so that starts with who you hire, and then it also ends with, like, if someone is there and they're not doing a good job or they have a negative attitude, sometimes it's time for them to move on, and it's important to do.
How do you use empathy as a leader?
I'd say you do it as a leader as you would do it with your friends, right? If something's going on with someone, you want to treat them well. You want to make sure that they understand that you understand what they're going through. I mean, as a CEO, with people reporting to you, there's all kinds of things that happen in people's lives outside of the business world, right? Someone, a death in the family, or someone going through a divorce, or just anything can happen, or you're having a bad day. And I think it's just important to recognize that people are people and people are going through things. I really try and give people the space they need. And that comes to the loyalty. If you give them the space they need when they need it, then when you need something, when the business is, struggling and you need them to step up, they're going to step up for you. And that's super important.
And how do you deal with burnout? Yourself as a CEO, your
Mhm.
people, your small company, 20 people. How do you
Yeah.
deal with burnout?
Yeah, we try and allow, we try and be flexible to allow people to kind of take the time they need. We do little things like we do summer Fridays on Fridays during the summer and let people leave early. We did a thing where over 4th of July, I think it was a Friday this year, we gave everyone the Thursday off just as a freebie. Just, just because, just kind of those kinds of things. Me personally, as CEO, uh, over the last 2 or 3 years, I start my day, and people make fun of me because it's not who I used to be, but I start my day with a 5 minute kind of meditation. I literally have this little same thing every day, just go downstairs, kind of meditate, and then I do a 10-minute yoga stretch. And it's just a way to start my day off kind of on a positive note. Um, and that's really helped me as part of that, part of the meditation. It's like, what's your intent? It's kind of, it asks you a few questions, and one of them, what's your intention for the day? So whether you know it or not, it just makes you start thinking about, okay, what's ahead in my day? What are the things that are coming up, and what do I want to really focus in on for my day? That stuff helps. I've actually given folks both the meditation and the yoga. The yoga really is something that, like, it's just a great way to kind of start, and it's an easy stretch. It's not a hard thing that I do, and it's a great way to kind of just get your body going and get the blood flowing in the morning.
I think that's fantastic. That's great.
Yeah.
How do
Yeah.
you define success beyond revenue and growth?
It's funny. I Someone asked me this. We actually did an exercise in this group I'm in, and one of the things I said is I want to be known as a leader that people wanted to work for, and when they go back and they're older and their kids say, or someone asks you, hey, who was one of your favorite people to work for? I want them to say me. I want that to be me. And that's not about, hey, we hit, this crazy sales or whatever. That's about building a culture. That's about having people be happy at their jobs. And, I'm a big believer in work-life balance. I have 4 kids. I got 2 dogs. I mean, I am busy as can be, but I really try and focus in on my family as much as I am on the business. And I try and let everyone else do that too. And that's really important. I've worked for bosses who have kind of really squeezed me, from a personal perspective, and you don't look highly upon that, even if the business is doing great. Like, even if financially you're making out, it's you still look back and you're like, you know what, I wasn't that happy during that time because I was just working so hard. So it's like, yeah, you have to work hard, right? But there's a balance there.
You have to look at the well-being of the people, not just the numbers.
That's exactly right.
And
That's exactly right.
I think if people feel that you're looking at for their best interest, their well-being, they'll actually perform better if you have the right type of person. That's what I found.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've always found
I
honey is
agree.
much better than vinegar, over
Absolutely.
time.
Absolutely.
And, sometimes that's a hard lesson to learn. And
It is.
I've seen, people who lead people and they only use vinegar. They never use honey. They never say a nice word. And, they would get a lot more out of the people. They'd get much better sales if they were just nice to them. All you have to do is be nice to people.
It's true. I mean, there's a balance. Like, you got to be motivating too. You want them to work hard, but yeah, it definitely, honey's better than vinegar for sure in
It's
many instances. Yeah,
right.
yeah,
If you have the right person.
yeah. That's right. That's right.
So, what advice would you give to somebody new starting out as an entrepreneur or as a leader? What advice would you give them starting a new business?
Yeah, I mean, I always come back to it. I've said it probably 5 times already today. Surround yourself with the right people. I mean, I've been in places where and in positions where I had one wrong person in one wrong seat who reported to me, and it really dragged down the organization and dragged down that. So, especially if you're starting off as an entrepreneur, every resource, every dollar, every resource is really important. So really focus on the people you want to surround yourself with, because that's going to make it or break it. They're going to be the people that push you to be successful or not successful. The other thing is financially, I always, having run lots of businesses, there's a lot of fat in businesses. There's a lot of fat everywhere. And so the other advice I'd say is every 6 months, sit down and go through your credit card bills for the business. Go through all your expenses for the business and go figure out what you can cut. And I would guarantee you there's probably 20% of the stuff that you don't need. That is just a recurring charge or this thing, or you signed up for it because you thought it was going to work and then you never turned it off, these things. And there is a lot of fat in businesses. So I would say taking the diligence to do that is really important. As an entrepreneur in a business, starting up a business, I would say make sure you look at every single check going out the door. So to this day, my CFO sends me every single expense on Thursdays for me to approve. Now, it's not really me approving, it's really me to understand it. So I understand where are the costs coming out of the business? Where are we spending our money? And then there's things that come up. I'm like, hey, why are we doing this? Why are we paying this person this? And having your hands around the financials and the economics of the business is critical, especially for an entrepreneur starting a business.
What's your 5-year plan for Vision Path?
For Vision Path, we really are focused on this doctor network contacts portal. I am so excited about it. It's something that I really feel like we're taking our expertise in marketing and using it to help the doctor community be successful. And so we came up with this idea just a little bit of a year ago. We introduced it at Vision Expo back in a year ago, Vision Expo West. It was hardly even an idea at that time. We got such good feedback that we're like, we got to go build this. And then we literally spent the next 6 months building it. We launched it. We launched it back in March, and we're so excited about it. The early reads on it are doing really well. We continue to make process improvements, and it's my hope that this is, one of the largest beneficial platforms for doctors in the contacts world, period. So for us now, it's about letting people know who we are, introducing the concept to people, and then letting them pilot it and show it. And this program that we've created, there's no cost to it. That we don't have any fees, we really allow the doctors to do what they're doing in their office. And it's only when a patient decides to go online and walk out the door and not buy from them, that's where we jump in and we try and use our marketing to try and capture that patient to buy their contact lenses from us. And then we share that profit with the doctor. So my vision in the next 5 years is this is a massive part of our business. I'd actually like this to be bigger part of our business than the e-commerce part of our business. That's the vision.
And you also sell glasses?
We do sell glasses. It's minor for what we do. We really focus in on the contact lenses. That's just been kind of our focus. And it's back to, do what you do well, focus there. We do have a glasses business. Glasses, as you know, it's a very competitive part of the vision business here. So I think we have a good offering. We have to have an offering, but where we excel, where I say lean into your strengths. Our strengths are in contact lenses, in subscriptions, and that's where we really excel. So that's what we're trying to push.
I want to thank Steve Druckman for joining me today. If people want to find more about you, they want to be a customer of Vision Path, how could they do it?
Look, I think the easiest way is to go to contactsportal.com. That's going to tell you all about what the contacts, what this program's about. And right there, you can go and you can put in your information, and we'll set up a call with you and explain exactly what's going on. And you can find me at a lot of the industry conferences. We're starting to do booths and things like that, and I'll start to have speeches and stuff there, which I'd love to do as well.
Steve, thank you for teaching my audience so much about business. This is Dr. Kerry Gell for Open Your Eyes. We'll see you next week.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
With more screen usage and indoor time, myopia, also known as nearsightedness, is increasing and getting worse in children. Now, certified eye doctors can prescribe MiSight One Day, the first and only FDA-approved soft contact lens to slow myopia progression in age-appropriate children. Visit CooperVision.com to find a Brilliant Futures certified eye doctor near you.